copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might.
Shout out to the CIA, one love to the FBI.
My friends, I worked for CIA because I was embarrassed. It's colored my life. It always will. It's like a shadow that falls over my life all the time. I still, if I say anything against them, I turn around wondering if I'm being followed. I never even thought of it. First of all, I thought I probably couldn't get in because it was considered the Cadillac of government agencies, and they mostly hired from Ivy League colleges, and I was just out of high school, went right to work for Veterans Administration, and actually it was the typewriter repairman came in to repair my typewriter one day, and he said, you know, you shouldn't be working here, you should be working at a nicer place. They test you a lot. Huge testing. I mean, when you're put into this personnel pool, there are probably 2 or 3 weeks of tests where it's all day long, every single day. And there are IQ tests, there are personality tests. The questions that bothered me the most was when I took the polygraph test. And in the polygraph test, they ask you such incredibly personal questions. For instance, they asked me if I was a virgin. And I was 18. And I thought, what business is it of theirs whether I am or not? And I was rather embarrassed to tell them that I was, because I don't think any of my girlfriends were. I was raised very strict. There were very few women at CIA who were other than secretaries. It was very sexist. It was the male establishment, the white male establishment. I asked a couple of times why it was that there were no blacks there and why there were no gay people there. Although they didn't call them gays in that time, in those days. I think they called them queers in those days. And they said because homosexuals could not be cleared because they could be blackmailed. They said that blacks couldn't be cleared because blacks just weren't, they were just still too primitive. They just weren't usually smart enough. And they didn't have the kind of background that white people had. I mean, I didn't think that much at the time because it was like sort of standard operating procedure. But when I think about it now, I'm really quite shocked how you probably would never get a job if you're black. I was assigned as a secretary in the audio surveillance division. They were experts on listening devices and hidden microphones and that sort of thing. I did also very often help the operatives get the documents that they needed. Once in a while I'd have to make a quick trip to the State Department to pick up their passports. And sometimes if we couldn't get the passports in time, then I'd have to go over to Graphic Arts Reproduction Division so that they could forge one for them. Most of them were artists in there, but they were recruited from prisons. Because they were forgers, and they were master forgers. They were people who knew how to forge money. And they forged all kinds of things. That's how they made their living. And so the FBI would arrest them, and then CIA would come and spring them. Then I went to technical services, where I was in charge of finding documents that you don't find in libraries, like Oh, like where you put explosives on a bridge. Where's the best place to put an explosive on a bridge? And what kind of explosive do you have to get that goes underwater without it, destroying its effectiveness? Also, I had to find, one time they wanted me to find out if there was such a thing as a poison that was undetectable, especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack. If there was such a thing as a poison that was undetectable.
I get it, man. On surface level, it looked like Kevin Samuels died from a heart attack.
Especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack.
Especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack. Especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack.
That would kill someone, but it would appear that they had a heart attack. I did find such a thing. That would kill someone, but it would appear that they had a heart attack. I did find such a thing.
I get it, man. On surface level, it looked like Kevin Samuels died from a heart attack, bro. But I'm not about to be moving the fool. No.
Does this pistol fire the dart?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman. And a special one was developed which potentially would be able to...
Somebody, they inject them with some shit that's hard to detect or you can't detect, and you got to look on their whole body for a little ass dot.
Have you brought with you some of those devices which would have enabled the CIA to use this poison for...
We have indeed.
For killing people, which would have enabled the CIA to use this poison for...
We have indeed.
For killing people.
The round thing at the top is obviously the sight. It works by electricity. There's a battery in the handle, and it fires a small dart.
And the dart itself, when it strikes the target, does the target know that he's been hit and about to die?
A special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
As a murder instrument, that's about as efficient as you can get, isn't it?
It is a weapon, a very serious weapon.
But also the toxin itself would not appear in the autopsy?
Yes, so that there was no way of perceiving that the target was hit.
I think the first time that I seriously questioned anything that was more than... I just couldn't take it anymore, was when I came across this document. It was eyes only, and it was to my boss, but he only had one hand and a hook in the other hand, so I always opened all of his mail and his packages and so forth. And this one, he wasn't in the office. I opened it and I read it. It said eyes only. I wanted to read it because I wasn't supposed to, probably. And it was a report about a mission where they had blown up a bridge in Asia somewhere, and they had killed a number of women and children who were on their way to market that morning. It was reported as though they were really proud, mission accomplished. That one bothered me a lot. When my boss came in, I gave him his mail and I mentioned this, and I said, "This is wrong. These women hadn't done anything. These children didn't deserve to die. Why did we do that?" And he said, that's the fortunes of war. And I said, "But we're not at war. We're certainly not at war in that country. Why did we do that? I don't understand it." And he said, "Well, you're very young. When you get older, you'll understand those things."
Somebody, they inject them with some shit that's hard to detect or you can't detect, and you got to look on their whole body for a little ass dot.
They're saying that Kevin Samuels passed away from a heart attack. You believe that? Then Negro, you crazy.
COINTELPRO, counterintelligence program. You know, they saying themselves that they waging war on black freedom. You know, you got the Freedom of Information Act in the bottom left corner. You know, you gotta wait years for them to unseal that. So there goes your proof that they really are, the countermeasure for black mobilization, black empowerment. So what I'm saying is you got a guy telling the community to put the family back together, kind of a conservative approach. no twerking, natural hair, show some etiquette, But that don't benefit the powers that be. That don't benefit the government. That's why they implement things like welfare to separate, the man from the house. So I'm just posing the hypothesis. Did he fit the description for the heart attack? You see the heart attack gun. That's a fact. The CIA has already killed. It's not far-fetched that they're killed. They got the heart attack gun. Dude done died from a heart attack. Nobody gonna ask questions. Let's get into it.
60s drew on, the FBI intensified its COINTELPRO operations against prominent civil rights groups, Dr. King and his associates in particular. This project was known as COINTELPRO Black Hate. According to a 1968 FBI memo, they feared that Martin Luther King Jr. was becoming a kind of messiah figure and would unite the various disparate civil rights groups into a force that could truly be reckoned with. If Dr. King ever decided to reject nonviolence and lead to an armed revolt, they would be in serious trouble.
Okay, so this is what I'm trying to tell y'all. They already got the patent, what you just saying right there, the trans whatever, but you see it right there, it's Googleable. They got the patent, battery operated. So the fact that they even going through medical the patent for you, that's the name up top, just to prove it's a real thing. It's not no imaginary movie, patent, licensed. You understand? You see the zoom in, heart muscle, gun configure. Read it and weep. What they saying is the dart is like frozen. So when it hit you, it like thaw out inside you. So they don't necessarily find the hole, because it's not a solid leaving like a cylinder hole. It's like a ice. The poison is melted. And it like dissolve in you. This is not my words. This is not my idea. This is why I'm showing you the patent and the paperwork. Human rights violation. I'm just trying to show you that it's not just the FBI, it's the CIA too. CIA assassinations. Guatemala, JFK, all over the world. You see they got the Hong Kong.
The FBI is a government agency supposedly intended to protect American civilians from the worst criminals imaginable, from domestic terrorists to serial killers, public figures, as a result of COINTELPRO, the FBI's clandestine series of projects.
Right, so Kim Jong-il, whatever his name was, he died. Then you gotta think back about how many other people that just died and you ain't even know about the heart attack gun. You never would even considered it. Washington Post say conspiracy theories can often be true.
Kevin Samuels was murdered.
King was public enemy number one, but prominent members of groups like the Black Panthers weren't far behind. All of them had to go. While generations of people across the world were touched and inspired by this incredible piece of history, the FBI were terrified. Dr. King was dreaming too big for their liking, and they wanted to put him in his place, that place being 6 feet below the ground. Hoover ordered Sullivan to turn his attention to discrediting and destroying King, and the movement he'd come to represent. Sullivan subsequently released a horrifically racist statement. In the light of King's powerful demagogic speech, we must mark him now, if we've not done so before, as the most dangerous Negro of the future in this nation from the standpoint of communism, the Negro and national security. The espionage began.
Okay, so J. Edgar Hoover, who that is. His name come up in there, so it's the FBI and the CIA. Lumumba, they got assassin salaries. You can Google it, CIA special agent. You want to apply? Assassins paid in the U.S. So So I'm not saying, I'm saying the CIA will assassinate. How to become a CIA agent. Terrifying background of a man who ran a CIA assassination unit. So you understand what I'm saying? They may have assassinated somebody that may have brought the community together, even though it appears they bringing the community apart.
The murders of Emmett Till and George Washington Lee. This prompted Hoover to turn the dangerous attentions of Sullivan and his FBI cronies to black civil rights groups, starting with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, on the grounds that they were supposedly hotbeds of subversive communist activity. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference was just the tip of the iceberg, though. During their 15-year heyday, COINTELPRO would infiltrate and attack the Black Panther Party, anti-Vietnam War organizers, feminist groups, environmental American history, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Malcolm X. It all gets a whole lot worse from here.
This girl, Alcantara Hortensia, or however you say her name, she seems to have two identities. There's one set of information on her on the internet that shows her being from Atlanta and stuff like that, but if you look at this other information with this soccer team she's on, it shows her being from Kansas. And this one here has more detailed information about it. This picture here is when she was 23, I guess. Either she was 23 or number 23. Either way, it has her birth date, January 19th, 1990 in Pontiac, Michigan. You can't see the first part of it on the police report because that says 1990, so we know that she's definitely born in 1990. But this one actually has her birthday and stuff on there. Double identity or a fake identity made for this person, because the name she has is definitely not a common name. I mean, you can argue that if she's foreign, it might be a common name wherever she's from, but this name definitely is not common.
So I got curious. I looked up the name Hortensia Alcantara.
With some Mexico stuff on, so that for me satisfies the Cinco de Mayo part right there. She said that she met Kevin Samuels the night before, but if you look at what's going on this video, the altercation that happened this is not usually how somebody acts with a person they just met the night before. The way that he's acting with her and the movements and he's annoyed in the way she's acting, this is how people act that know each other. You know what I mean? Like, this is a person that gets on your nerves, they've been getting on your nerves, you're tired of them kind of.
Do something else. But we have a relationship, industrial complex, as it were, that keeps people single, miserable, taking Prozac, Zoloft, drinking wine, and watching Netflix and chill movies. That doesn't benefit the end user.
But Miss Alcantara, or whatever your name is, bitch, we got our eye on you, man.
Shout out to the CIA. One love to the FB. Shout out to the CIA. One love to the FBI.
My theory is that Kevin Samuels will either be exposed as a closeted homosexual, or he will be taken off the world stage.
In this moment, yes, I cannot say what's wrong or right.
Now, it's possible. I find it hard to believe that this man just dropped dead. Who was Kevin Samuels dating? I hope he wasn't dating a police officer. I hope Kevin Samuels wasn't dating a woman who secretly wanted him but didn't love the shit he was saying. Being poisoned is real. There's a lot of ways you could be found unresponsive. I hope that the female officer off duty that happened to find this man's body, I hope y'all wasn't in relations, bitch. And I'm gonna find who the fuck you is. Nobody in the United States of America knows this person. Nobody. Now people saying she not no nurse and she lied about it. If she told the police she was a nurse and lied about it, this bitch not a suspect. They had sex and a nigga died. And I'm living in the life where I watch Forensic Files, Crime 360, First 48, all this shit.
No more. Kevin Samuels was murdered. Kevin Samuels was murdered.
Kevin Samuels was murdered.
I don't give a fuck what nobody talking about. I feel that nigga, y'all could call it clout chase or whatever. I feel that nigga wanted me to show y'all something up with this bitch. Don't let that bitch off the hook, y'all. Something up with her.
We're saying this, man, it doesn't add up. Something is sketchy, something is going on. So all we're doing is trying to get down to the facts and nitty gritty. Police department released the incident report for Kevin Samuels. On this incident report, they pretty much took us through something we already knew, right? They found him on the floor, unresponsive, etc., due to chest pains. They're saying that she said he had chest pains, she tried to save him, he fell over her, and you guys know what happened next. However, here's the one big flaw in this. As you guys can see at the top of the report, her name is being spelled Hortensia with an S. However, during the report, the person who wrote out the report spells her name with a C. To me, that just screams sloppiness. However, once we point out that detail, once we realize that detail, that's when we were able to find who this person is. Atlanta Police Department dropped the ball as well because they listed her down as an Atlanta native. That's not true. She's from Kansas. We're able to verify that she is indeed a nurse in Kansas. But the thing is, what was she doing in Atlanta? Again, that's not even suspicious, right? Because she could have just been visiting. But she is a recent nurse. She's 32. She became a nurse at age 30. As you guys can see right here, her license was issued in 2020. Currently, pictures circulating other, but due to what happened the last time where we posted up some pictures and it turns out it wasn't her, I don't even think Kevin Samuels is getting an autopsy done on him, right? Because autopsies are done by the police. Like in cases of a homicide, the family will have to pay for their own independent autopsy if they want one.
Atlanta police treating us like it's a natural death, ain't no foul play being in it. Atlanta police treating us like it's a natural death, ain't no foul play being in it.
They're saying that Kevin Samuels passed away from a heart attack. You believe that Negro, you crazy.